So the other day I was in a seminar about money, flow, abundance, and the law of attraction, and the workshop was actually really good. I really loved it and received a ton of awesome reminders. But there was one thing that the teacher said that had me go just like, wait a minute, there is something fundamentally missing from this equation here. And it came to the point when she was talking about the importance of our vibratory output and manifesting from a place of joy, which I would agree with 100%. But then she mapped out the process of manifestation, the full process of manifestation, as she called it. And the way she laid this out was that she said that my thoughts create my feelings and my emotions. My feelings and my emotions create my actions, and my actions create my results. And because the thoughts are the originator of feeling, if you want to change your results, you must first change your thoughts. And while this sounds pretty logical in theory, you know, like I think something crappy, I feel bad, my actions suck, and I don't get any results, or I get kind of sucky results. In reality, it doesn't actually work like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with the layup, but there's just something missing in this entire equation. And by the way, she is not the first one to map it out in this way. I've heard it many times before, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. But this time I was like, wait a minute, this is incomplete. And not only incomplete, but practically very ineffective. Because what happens is that when people think that they need to change their thoughts, but they are so far away from where they want to be vibrationally, it just ends up backfiring. And now don't get me wrong, sometimes you are just feeling kind of neutral and you just forgot about the magic of life for a moment, and just one thought of gratitude is enough to bring you back into that vibrational party of joy and into that stream of creativity. But sometimes when you are feeling low, flatlined, depressed, frustrated, stuck, and you just feel kind of like energetically dead inside, or just kind of like meh, to think thoughts like I am a powerful creator, everything is possible, I can do anything and life is awesome, is just gonna feel kind of like empty words and completely inauthentic. And what happens is the more you say those things and the more you try to change your thoughts, you just end up feeling even more sucky. Because if you're wanting to feel ecstatically creative, you want to feel just super connected to life, but you're feeling kind of like a mix between a wet pizza and a sleepy sloth, then the more you try to affirm that you are awesome and that everything is great and that you are rich and you're fit or you're healthy or whatever, when the reality of the moment is so far away from that, then trying to change your thoughts from that space just doesn't work. If anything, it'll just make you feel even more like a loser for lying to yourself. So you ask, what is the solution? And I will answer that in just a moment. But first, there's another semi-myth that I want to debunk, and that is about moving up the emotional scale. So if you have been watching Abraham Hicks for a while, then you're probably familiar with the concept of moving up the emotional scale, which basically states that when you are feeling out of alignment, the best thing to do, or one of the most amazing things to do, is to reach for the best feeling thought that you have access to in that moment. So it's not about trying to jump from despair into joy, but maybe from despair into hope, or from sadness into anger, and then from there into empowerment, etc., etc., and then incrementally moving up the emotional scale. And again, in theory, this kind of works, but in my experience, it's not that effective. Because it's kind of slow and it just takes a long time to like keep on reaching for the better feeling thought, and you kind of have to keep going, and very often you just kind of fall right back down again. And secondly, because it is mostly mental, unless you're one of those people who can just drop right into gratitude in a very, very visceral way, then for most people this is a very mental way of going about it, and it doesn't actually touch the core of your being. And just as a side note, I absolutely adore Abraham Hicks. I think they're absolutely amazing, and so this is not to put them down in any kind of way. It's just that this specific process just doesn't do it for me. And then you ask, so what the fuck do we then do? What is the solution to this? And so this is my take on it, and I think you're gonna love it. So the solution to all of this is to get physical.
Do you guys not like your outfits?
Flame proof, girl proof.
The deepest, fastest, and most integrated way of changing your state of being is changing your physical state. Even just 3 deep breaths fully in and out of your body will begin to alter your brain chemistry, your hormones, and thus how you feel within seconds. And now there are more nuances to this, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this. So that's why I've put it into 3 categories, and you can utilize these 3 categories to tune into whatever feels like it would create the most expansion and openness from whatever your present state of being is. Category number 1 is breath, sound, and movement release. And this is awesome if you're feeling kind of stuck, kind of dead inside, kind of low on energy and disconnected from life. And the result of this is that you feel alive, energized, open, connected to life, and in a state of flow. And the genius behind this is that both resistance and depression is simply a lot of energy being held in place, which feels like resistance, or being pushed down, which feels like depression. And when that life energy is being freed up, then the natural state or the natural effect of that is a feeling of feeling connected, feeling overflowing, feeling in a state of flow and even joy. And so my favorite ways of release are taking deep breaths in and out of my body. So deep breaths in, filling your entire body with air, and then sighing on the exhale. So deep breaths in, expanding with the inhale, and letting go, sighing with the exhale. Super, 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 super simple. And this becomes even better if you stretch your arms up towards the sky with the inhale, stretching up towards the sky. And then on the exhale, brushing down your body, just brushing down wherever you feel tension, and emptying your head out and releasing the energy, releasing the stuckness. Another version of this is breathing in and stretching up, and then on the exhale, dropping your arms down and just shaking and shaking your hands, shaking everything and releasing together with some shaking and some sound and some movement. And this brings us into my next favorite, which is shaking. Kundalini shaking. And shaking is very simply what it sounds like. And if you want to have a more in-depth guided practice for this, how to move from stuckness to flow, from frustration into flow in under 10 minutes, then check out this video right here. But it's very simply what it sounds like. You simply shake your body as a method to open up and free up the energy. And this is probably the most effective anything I have ever found, and it's super simple but super powerful, and not only can help you to move from frustration into flow and from stagnation into surrender, but it can even allow you to access deeper states of inspiration and even deeper states of orgasm. So definitely check that out if you are not familiar with the shaking practice already. Voice release is another super powerful one, and one of my personal favorites, and I have found that this is especially effective when it comes to frustration and stuckness in relationships, because you can talk with your partner endlessly from a place of feeling annoyed, and the only result is that you kind of feel numb and neutral and not at all attracted to each other. Whereas just half a minute to a minute of screaming, which can be a solo practice, wrestling, which is a partner practice, or lion roaring, which can be done as a solo practice or a partner practice together with your beloved, can open up the space in such a way that you go from wanting to get as far away from each other as possible to wanting to be inside each other. And some other sweet options include going for a run, jumping with or without a trampoline, doing yoga, having sex, dancing, and just anything that gets your heart rate up and your blood pumping. And now some of these can be super quick, like taking 3 deep breaths or doing 5 jumps or having 15 seconds of screaming, whereas others might take a bit more time, like going for a half-hour run or having sex for 2 hours. And the point is not to do all of them, but to just tune into whatever you need in the moment. And what all of these have in common are breath, sound, and movement into release. And this brings us to category number 2, which is utilizing the emotion as a portal into flow. And so you probably heard the saying that what you resist persists, and this is kind of like the exact opposite of that. So rather than trying to push away the emotion or change the experience, you are actually turning up the volume on and amplifying the emotion. So if you're feeling frustrated, you breathe as frustration. If you're feeling sad, you breathe as sadness and you amplify the sadness, or you simply put on some really dramatic or romantic or sad music and you just sing out your despair. If you're feeling anger, then you breathe that fire as anger. And when you do that, you'll notice that anger without story or without resistance is simply life force energy. It's that fiery quality that wants to move through you, and it can actually become really enjoyable. And what you'll notice is that when you embody and express an emotion fully and really give it space to move and to expand, it can't hang around for that long. It's only when you wrap an emotion into analysis or resistance that it tends to stick around for ages, like minutes, days, weeks, years, decades, lifetimes. But when you fully give it space without any story or judgment or resistance, but you actually amplify it, it tends to move really quickly into whatever the next layer is. And before you know it, you're right back into that cruising on the river of flow. So if you're feeling pissed off, then get into your bed or onto your couch or onto your yoga mat and punch some pillows together with the exhale. Or stamp your feet or bounce your heels together with deep breathing and deep sounding and release. And this is not only an opening from feeling kind of crappy to feeling awesome, but it is also an invitation and an opening into deeper presence, deeper pleasure, and resistance-free living. And this brings us into category number 3, which is nourishment. So if you're wanting to feel awesome, but you're honestly sleep deprived, then just go and have a nap and then come back into flow. So if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling exhausted, if your body is feeling like it's just this wreck that hasn't felt nourished or rested in ages, then take care of that first, and then you'll notice that flow and creativity and joy naturally comes forth when you are rested, energized, and nourished. So have some rest, go for a massage, get cozy with a book and a big cup of chai, or snuggle up with your beloved for some Netflix and chill. Have a bath, go for a facial, drink some green juice, or go out in nature. Meet up with your best friend, cuddle with your cat, or ride your horse. And maybe even a glass of wine and some delicious food enjoyed with pleasure can be the best thing to do. And I would say that chocolate is probably the perfect solution for pretty much everything. The key question here is, what would feel nourishing for me right now? What would feel nourishing for me right now? So ask that question, and your body will respond with exactly what it needs to come back into thriving and openness. And my personal favorites on this list of nourishment are receiving massage, being in nature, and allowing myself to be splashed and carried by the ocean. And there you have it. So category number 1, breath, sound, and movement release. Number 2, utilizing the emotion as a portal into flow. And 3, nourishment, or for short, RPN. And again, the point is not to do all of them every single time, but just to tune into what would feel nourishing for you, what would open the space, what would bring you into more aliveness, openness, or what would just be a space of allowing yourself to just be as you are and give the emotion the full space to just flow. And then from that openness, it is natural that joy comes forth eventually, and usually pretty quickly when you're not resisting the emotion that is currently being experienced. So my tip is to save this video so that you can easily come back to it whenever you feel like you need it. And the more you do this, the more you will naturally and intuitively move into whatever would create the greatest joy and expansion and connection for you. And so with that, the full process of manifestation is: my body/energy creates my feelings and emotions and my thoughts. That creates my actions, and that creates the results. Because when you feel energized, then creativity cannot help but flow forth. When you feel inspired, inspiration is your natural outpouring. When you feel open and connected, then gratitude is all pervasive. So change your physical state of being, and your thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions, and results will change automatically. So that's it for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. If this video was valuable for you, if it opened something for you, if it touched you in any way, if it brought you an insight, then share it with your best friends, and also comment down below and give it a thumbs up so that more people can find it. And if you're not subscribed to this channel already, then click the subscribe button somewhere around here to stay tuned for more awesomeness, wisdom, and ecstatic awakening. And also make sure that you click that little bell button symbol thing so that you get notified when new vids are released. And lastly, if you want to have a more in-depth meditation to experience peace, expanded awareness, and limitlessness, then go to ecstaticawakeningretreat.com/limitless and download the Limitless meditation. It is for free. It is my gift to you, and you will absolutely love it. So thank you so much for showing up here today. I wish you flow, awesomeness, and aligned, accelerated manifestation.